Hey there guys, how's it going? Back with another movie review. So, I recently went to the theatre and I saw this movie Savage. Now, this movie just came out over here and it got a theatrical release, which is quite surprising to me because this is a independent New Zealand movie. I believe it actually came out last year in New Zealand, however in the West it came out here just recently within the past week. And yeah, I saw it in the theatre, quite an interesting movie, and yeah, I'd never heard of the director before. It was directed by a guy called Sam Kelly, and I'd never heard of any of the actors or any of the producers or writers or anything. So, yeah, this is a movie that I knew absolutely nothing about, knew nothing about anybody involved, and yeah, went into the movie just completely blind. And yeah, it's an interesting one. So, this movie was essentially inspired by certain true stories of events over in New Zealand. It's basically about a street gang called Savages, ran by a guy who's played by Jake Ryan. I don't know that actor, but yeah, he plays the lead role in the movie, and he does a very good job, by the way. A really good acting performance, and it's really a personal, story-driven movie involving this character. Basically, about 10 minutes into the movie, it does a time jump, and it goes back to when he was a kid, and essentially he gets kicked out of his family home. His father was a bit of a brute, you know, he was a bit abusive towards the family, and yeah, he gets kicked out for stealing and sent to a juvenile detention center, where sadly a lot of bad things happen to him. Like for example, he gets abused by one of the staff there, and that of course messes him up. And basically, him and another child escape from that facility, and they decide to start their own street gang called Savages, and it kind of documents how the gang was started and what it was started for and stuff like that. And it's kind of a, like I said, a story-driven experience for this main character, and you know how he goes from being just an innocent child to a brutal asshole gang leader. And I thought this movie was alright, if I'm being honest. Now, it is a movie that could have done with a little bit more character development, a little bit more dialogue. There's a lot of sequences in this movie which felt just a tad bit pretentious, like scenes where characters just stare at each other and don't say anything, or scenes where you know there's just some dialogue that I felt was just a little bit unnecessary. Like there's one scene near the beginning of the movie where there's like this awkward sex scene between these gang members, and you know they basically take these women back to their house, and it's really awkward and really strange and just felt a little bit weird to me and a little bit unnecessary. But the movie does pick up from that point on, and it gets better and better, and there are some really good action sequences. You know, this movie has some brutal and realistic fight scenes. The movie is R-rated. It was rated 18, so yeah, this is a very profanity filmed and quite a bloody film. You know, there's some scenes with people getting hit with hammers and smacked over the head with bats and stuff like that. So it's quite a brutal gangster type film. You know, there's some big gang fights and stuff, and it's just a film that I thought was okay. I do have some problems with it. You know, the pacing in the movie is a little bit weird. You know, when you get these types of movies that do these time jumps, like it starts off he's an adult, then it goes to him being a young kid, then it goes to him being like a teenager and stuff like that, and it was done a little bit better in this movie than I've seen it done in others, but it wasn't really anything special. The ending of the movie is a little bit anticlimactic, and it feels a little bit unearned. But I gotta be honest, man, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I think that the acting of the movie was very good. Like I said, this guy Jake Ryan in the lead role, I thought did a very good job, and also the child acting in the movie was pretty good too. And I really did feel for the character, and obviously with the character having such an abusive father, and with him being abused in a care home and stuff like that, you know, you get a glimpse into his motivations and why he becomes the type of person that he becomes in the end, and it's quite sad and quite heartbreaking. You know, there's also a little bit of a dynamic there with him trying to juggle his priorities. Like he has his friend who he escaped the facility with, who he set up this gang with, and they basically have sort of a real close family connection there. But he also has his own family, you know, his biological family that he has to try and reconnect with, like his brother, who's in a rival gang and stuff like that. And it's an interesting movie. Like I said, it's got some good drama, some good acting. It's got a little bit too much. There's a lot of swearing in the movie. Like they drop a lot of f-bombs, and a lot of them just felt a little bit unnecessary to me. Like as if they were doing it for the sake of doing it. But I get they were trying to be realistic and portray sort of the way that these people would talk. So I get it. So yeah, it was an interesting movie to me. I don't really have much else to say about it. I'd say this movie was just average. Like I said, it had some good acting. It had some great action scenes. It's not really an action movie. It's more of a story-driven, personal movie. So yeah, there's not really going to be. It's not really like a traditional like gangster type film. With lots of violence and lots of fight scenes and lots of overly dramatic action set pieces. It's not really that type of movie. This is a very personal and story-driven movie that feels very independent, put it that way. And yeah, I don't really have any issues with it. So I'd give this movie just a 6 out of 10. For me, I think it's just slightly above average. And yeah, it was nice to see a movie like this in theatre, because usually these types of movies you don't see until years later. Because they don't usually get a theatrical release over here. But yeah, I thought this was a decent movie. I'll totally recommend it if you see this movie cheap. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I give this one a 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and God bless.